Hello, hi everybody. I am Wild Chevy. You guys are watching the Atomic Salt Live Show. This is the show where we talk about everything related to the tabletop hobby. Yeah, I am joined by Casey Roberts. Hello, Casey. How's it going?
Evening, Alan. How are we doing? It seems
Pretty
you've
good.
already started in on the whiskey already without us. Can't even
Bottoms up.
remember how to start.
And let's see. We have two guests with us this week. We have Brandon from the Geek Garage, also
What's
known as
up?
Grimwolf.
Here I am. How are you?
And then we have Tim. Hello, Tim. How's it going?
Good. How's it going, guys?
It's a good night to chat about the hobby.
Indeed.
Always.
Now, for you guys out there who are watching this and don't know, Tim and Grimwolf here, they just got back from Gen Con with a few awards for their painting prowess. So we do have some painting gods here with us tonight.
I don't see any, at least not in my frame.
Where'd they go?
Yeah, right.
Just kidding.
It's all subjective.
It's all
You guys see my
subjective.
stuff.
Well, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it, though. Hey, I'll take it.
No, yeah, it'll tell my wife that, would you? That way she doesn't think I'm wasting too much money anymore.
What do you mean you have to buy another $100 worth of plastic and pewter?
That doesn't even cover a box anymore.
No kidding, right? Sorry, I'm a little sick,
It
fellas.
costs $3 for that much. You can get like a huge bottle of Walmart of paint for $3.
Only in primer does that count.
And only sometimes.
Right.
Okay, so why don't we all introduce ourselves? Brandon, we'll let you go first. Who are you? Maybe something you've done lately. You know, conventions or painting you've done. Are you a competition or commission painter?
All right. Well, yeah, I'm Randon, Grim Wolf from the Geek Garage forums and most every other forum that anybody ever frequents. That's just my handle, Grim Wolf. I paint a lot of stuff. I don't really play anything, and I can't really say. I can't really say. I stick to one game, but I do like to paint. I paint on commission occasionally, but mostly just for myself. And yeah, I was pretty fortunate to get second place in the open squad category at Gen Con this last Gen Con, so pretty sweet.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
So, Tim, what about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Tim Toolin. I run the Miniature Tim blog for almost 3.5 years now. Never would have thought that would have happened. In Gen Con this past couple weeks ago, I took first place in the open category for the large figure and third place in the squad. So that was not first competition, but definitely the first awards. I do commission painting, but I'm mostly a gamer. Working on a lot of Infinity right now.
Awesome.
Speaking of Infinity, Tim actually did a commission piece for me. He did my Toha Spec Ops. So, shoot, I can't say that now because now if I try and enter that in a competition, you guys will know.
They're cheating. Casey, I'm on to you. I'm on to you.
No,
All right,
we'll
Tim,
know
I need something
anyway.
else for you to paint. You got to paint something else for me here, coming up.
You throw it my way, brother. That's fine by me. Actually, I did just get done doing a completely custom Inquisitor figure for a guy that runs, or is at least part of running a blog or a podcast up in New Jersey, I think, called the Guild Hall. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like 54 millimeter 40K fig?
No. It's they actually use figs to roll out combat in like Dark Heresy and Rogue Trader.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, since we're talking about painting, Alan, aka Wild Chevy, why don't you tell us about your painting background, just so we all know.
I'm a painter sometimes. I'm a player, at least of hobby sometimes. Uh,
Always a
I
player.
did. I entered. Yeah, I'm always a player. I did enter into the Gen Con competition. I didn't get anything. I did get one shelf below the top people, so I'll take that as a win. Um, yeah. Right now, currently in queue, I have a whole bunch of projects. I'm going to start up on some Infinity projects here soon too.
Sweet.
Great.
And
Now,
how about you,
last,
Casey?
last and certainly least, I'm Casey Roberts. I go by Rocket Yeti on all the forums. I'm really more of a. I don't do a whole lot of painting competitions. I usually paint what I play, and if something turns out exceptionally nice, then maybe I'll try and enter it into a competition. I've entered one competition. I took third in it. That was the Salty Dwarf a little while ago. So
That is an epic
it was
competition.
I'm just really lucky that the top first and second guys couldn't win more than once, otherwise I'd win like fifth or sixth. So.
Hey,
And that is the extent of my painting.
you probably got one of the coolest trophies in painting, though.
I agree. I would show it to you, but I keep it on my desk at work.
Yeah, buddy.
I feel like I'm left out of an inside joke here.
Randon here, so Salty Dwarf is a local painting competition here in Utah, and run by the Geek Garage folks. And Randon here was our main sculptor for the trophy last year. And if he gets his act together, we might have him do it for this year as well.
I got another Salty Dwarf trophy. It's just the helmet for Salt City Gladiator games that's giving me headaches.
Honestly, you should just make a button.
Yeah, there we go.
Wrapped in
Buttons.
fabric.
Buttons for the win.
The size of my thumbnail.
There you go.
Okay, so we've all done a little bit of competition at one point or another. Competition painting at one point or another. So let's get started off. We'll just start the discussion with miniatures. Do you guys have specific companies that you lean towards for your miniatures? Are there certain companies that you stay away from?
Who do you want to go first?
I would.
Well, since you're up.
Trying to be ordered at all because that's going to fall apart.
I'll go
quickly,
first.
so.
I'll go first. My favorite, because I'm loud and I talk loud and anything. So, my favorite miniature company is no longer around, but I love Rackham, old Rackham figs. They're like my favorite things to go paint. But since they're not around, I'll go to my second favorite, which right now happens to be Infinity, because their figures are just super detailed and super cool, and yeah, Infinity is right up there with some of the best that there is. So, what about you, Tim?
I was a GW fanboy since second edition, I think. But actually, the first fig I ever painted was an old FASA battle mech from MechWarrior and BattleTech. So it was the Hunchback. So I've been painting figs for quite a while, longer if you go towards the Wayback Machine, about 18, 20 years ago when I was playing D&D in junior high and whatnot. But no, I own enough GW to choke a school full of children, so I'm loving the new Infinity stuff myself. Really enjoying it. Although I am kind of waiting to get my hands on the Robotech RPG Tactics stuff if they ever ship it.
The Kickstarter?
Yeah.
They'll ship it in a year and a half.
Yeah. Well, it'll still be before the Kingdom Death stuff comes.
That's right.
And I'm still waiting. That looks like it's going to be a fun line when it ever comes out.
You just want to drop boobies at him.
You know what? There's enough miniatures out there you can paint boobies to your heart's content.
But Kingdom Death has like the biggest boobies and other things.
They have entire models made out of them. I mean,
it's a walking, slobbering booby. Crazy. Does show have explicit
Okay.
rating? I don't know.
Alan,
Yes.
what kind of... Do you have a preferred miniature company, or is there any companies that you stay away from?
I mean, there's a lot of good companies out there. I mean, especially with the 3D printing, 3D sculpting coming along, you got a lot of good stuff. Some of it's a little hit and miss. Like Kingdom Death, I have painted some of their miniatures. I do like the Kingdom Death miniatures, very good quality. Infinity's been mentioned. They're getting better and better with their quality. Ones like for like competition stuff, I wouldn't like use a Reaper model, but Reaper stuff is really good to help train other people how to paint.
I think some Reaper sculpts are really good, but it's one of the companies that, for me at least, is the most inconsistent, I think.
well, I think they also use probably the largest variety of sculptors as well, so I think that's where you're going to get that from.
Agreed. You know what I forgot to mention is Malifaux. The new stuff is pretty amazing. Not gonna lie, I dropped a penny on Malifaux stuff. It's good looking plastic.
Yeah,
I mean, the plastic is great. Assembling it is going to drive you nuts.
Well, I don't know. I just got done assembling the Karakuri from the JSA, and I think I'd rather assemble the weird plastics. I really do. Love using them in the game. I will never assemble any more of those again.
Yeah,
Nothing
so-
like having to glue a face separately on a model to make you crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, kind of like the rest of you. I'll say that I like painting the Infinity stuff or submitting it in for a competition. I think one of the reasons I like it was in the single competition I've entered. It was the only Infinity miniature there, and so I think it had a bit of novelty going for it. And I don't know. I mean, do you guys think that it's good to have a miniature that's maybe novel or something people haven't seen before? I mean, you put in a Kingdom Death model, and nobody's going to doubt the quality of it. But everybody's kind of seen it before, and they've seen really great paint jobs done on it. So,
You know, I'll chime in on that one. If you look at the P3 Grandmaster competition from Gen Con 2013, that was right after the Mountain King came out. There were like 10 of those entered into the competition. So if you look at that, you know, is it new? Is it cool? And you want to enter that? Maybe. It really all depends on if you want to be the same new and cool thing that everybody else does. So, you know, the opposite end of that would be to go for the novelty, but you also want to make sure while it stands out, it doesn't stand out in I'm doing this because I want it to stand out way. Does that make sense? You want it deliberate, but you don't want the weird guy on the block syndrome. Like I am.
You don't want to be anti-meta just to be anti-meta, right?
Yes. Better way to put it.
Casey, speaking of your miniature, it was the only Infinity miniature there, but as one of the judges, it really that just stood out as it was just good painting. So you got that going for you too. So don't poo-poo that, because it was a well-painted painting.
Oh, you'll find I take every opportunity to tear myself down. Don't worry about it.
Okay, every painter does that. It's true. We're all our own worst critics when it comes to ourselves. But I'll say this, Casey, you and I have been talking for what, 2.5 years through email now, maybe?
Yeah, about that.
About that. I will say your painting has come leaps and bounds since the first figs I've seen, compared to like your Toha faces and their artichoke hair now. And don't get me wrong, I love the Toha, but I'm just saying you actually, if I were to dial back in my emails from years ago, I mean your paintings come screaming ahead. And don't say that your one Infinity model was the novelty figure, because what I think at Gen Con there were maybe 5 Infinity entries, whereas at Crystal Brush and at Adepticon there were only like 3, maybe 4 at the most. So, but Infinity's getting just a much larger and larger market share when it comes to competition painters, in a good way, I think.
I agree.
I think a lot of that has to do with like the sculpting. I mean, there's a lot of static poses in a lot of miniature lines. Like GW, like they're big, like the Imperial Knight or the Wraith Knight. They're all very static in their poses, and maybe it's a little bit dynamic, but you can't, not easily turn him into something that looks like he's going to be running off the field. Infinity, a lot of their poses are very action oriented, and that helps, I guess, because when you're building up a scene with your paint job, it has to speak for itself. If the miniature already is there, half the work is done.
Yeah, I think initially their sculpts were almost overboard dynamically, and that was kind of like, I think they kind of tried to hang their hat on, look how dynamic our stuff is. But I think what they've done recently is they've found the balance of awesome dynamic figures as well as some really cool static poses. Like one of my favorite poses is the new Corregidor Intruder. That's not a dynamic figure, but man, that guy looks so badass. He's just like, I'll kill you. It's cool.
Or if you look at their new Raiden Saibutai, with the heavy rocket launcher, it's not on his shoulder. He's not aiming it, but he's not standing still with it either. It's like he's right about to pull it up. It's that mid-action pose that I think they're really starting to nail that no other company does.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Well, okay, so Randon, what you were saying was Infinity might have been a little, excuse me, maybe overly dynamic. Is that true for a painting competition as well? I mean, what do you guys, and that's true for everybody. I guess it's for everybody. Because what do we look for when we're picking out a model? I mean, do you want something that's as dynamic as possible just to get people to look at it, or?
Well, go ahead, Tim.
No, I was going to say the best advice I've got when it comes to looking for a model to paint for a competition, the very first Golden Demon I entered, I had Chris Bohr just picked it apart for me, bless his soul, and in a very nice, very, very, very good way. Chris is a good guy, but the best thing he told me when I asked his advice on what to look for in a fig to paint for competition is something you like. If you don't like it, don't paint it. And I've done that too many times. I've started figs that I just don't finish because I don't like them. So the first thing I look for is if I like it or not. From there, maybe I want it to tell a story, but I gotta like the fig first.
I agree. I think if you're painting something just because this will win, if you're like, oh, it's a painting competition for Infinity, I better paint the new thing that everybody wants to buy. If you're painting it just to paint it and you don't love it and you don't have that like, oh, I want to finish this, like this is something that, oh, this is so cool, when they finish, these guys are going to look so awesome, and if you're not totally into it, I think you can feel the forced paint job as opposed to one that you have like a passion. You're like, I really want, it's going to look cool as if I add this little detail and that little detail. Whereas I think sometimes if you're just painting it to paint it, you're just like, okay, shade, highlight, smooth the blends, move on, and it never those little inspirations you get because you love it and because you really want to do it, they don't ever show up because you're just going through the motions. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
I think
So then
that's kind
based
of
on
like.
sorry, go ahead.
I think it's kind of how like a lot of people, a lot of not the pro commission painters get so burnt out because you're painting something for somebody else, and yeah, you can go all out, or you can just do like a cookie cutter studio paint job, and your heart's not into it because you're gonna paint up something great like a bear cat, and then give it back to the owner.
What are you talking about? You talking about anything specific there, Al? Damn it! I don't want to get this thing figure away.
For the folks who, so inside information there, Brandon here is painting a commission Berica for the Troll Bloods, and he's doing an amazing job, but it's commission.
This guy is not for me, and I'm very sad.
You know, I actually really love that model so much, except for the fact they gave him human arms.
The bear?
The bear.
With his biceps?
Look at the musculature on the bear's arms.
Yeah, I can see he's got biceps and forearms. It's cool.
But the pose rocks.
Now you just ruined that model for him.
Sorry.
Every time he's gonna look at it, he's like, he's got biceps.
He does.
I noticed that while I was painting it. I was like, holy crap, this thing's got biceps. It still looks cool. It's just, yeah, it's definitely like half man, half bear. So that's cool, though. I can handle it.
As long as it doesn't have any pig in there.
Right, yeah. To be honest, though, speaking of commissions, and I'll just kind of go into this. I used to take more commissions, but lately I don't take very many. Mainly, it takes me over a year to paint things, and people don't like that. So, but but with this Berka, he called me up and he said, "Hey, I have Berka. Do you want to paint it?" And I thought to myself, I don't want to buy this model, but damn, it's cool, and I think I want to paint it. And so that's why I ended up taking the commission. It's now just to the point where I've painted it, and I'm just like, now I want to have it.
You know, you bring up a good point there too with commissions. I did 2 years ago. I did an entire Deathwing army in the Black Templar sense of it. So the whole 9 yards. I mean, I blended the blacks to grays and blues, and I mean, it was a great looking army. Took me 2.5 months, which is slow compared to a lot of army commission painters out there, but was pretty quick for me. I will never do that again. I won't do armies again. You know, you have so many people out there that do them, and they do them very well. You know, but from a commission painter standpoint, I'll do one-offs. I'll do maybe small squad stuff, but I'm never doing that huge commission again.
Hey, Al, what do you know about painting armies? Sorry.
Oh yeah.
What do you know about?
Last year or the year before, I did a whole Black Templar army over I think 60 miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
They turned out great, and I had to really push to get it finished and all that in time. And then a year later, the guy sold all his stuff, and I'm like, the little piece of me died. I'm like, all right, whatever.
I have to say, I both envy and pity both of you for taking those commissions, because I'm sure you know, I envy you in the fact that you had the fortitude to finish it, and I pity you in the fact that you had the fortitude to finish it.
Is that a backhanded compliment? I'm lost.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of.
I got this guy asking me to paint up his space wolf. I'm like, nope, not gonna happen.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Nope.
They're like the
I don't think
worst
I've ever.
orders.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever painted a full army for myself. So finishing a full army for somebody else is like, I mean, it's impressive that you're able to finish an army, let alone for somebody else. So it is a compliment in the fact that, well done. That's also hell. I think would be my personal hell.
Oh, wait, hang on. Are we talking about not finishing an army? So I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full armies, up to 2,000 points in 40K.
For other people?
No, 4 of those were my own. I only own 1 of them right now.
Well, that's impressive too. Wow.
No, it's torture is what it is.
How do you sell a whole army that you painted? Because I mean, I've only painted one full army with 40K, and I don't think I could ever let it go. It's just
When someone offers you $1,500 for your army, you take it.
that'll do it. That'll do
See?
it.
That and shiny syndrome. I don't know.
And what syndrome?
Shiny syndrome, baby.
Ooh, shiny syndrome. Yes, that will do it. There's a lot of different syndromes out there. Ooh, shiny is one of them.
Yes.
I think
That was the ban for Kickstarter. Every Kickstarter came out, hey, look, we got these new miniatures. I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy it. I haven't seen them yet. But
yeah, right.
That's funny because I'm actually banned from Kickstarter anything ever again. I've spent way too much time there.
Awesome.
Okay, so Alan, we kind of skipped over you, in terms of what you look for a model. But we started talking about how much time it takes us, like how much time we spend painting stuff. For a competition piece, how much time do you spend painting the competition piece, and then when do you call done?
like the lead up time, I mean, I always have a plan to, and it's usually like six to 8 months out. But that's like for Gen Con, I'm like, oh, I could do this, this, and this, and this, and I barely had time to finish anything.
I mean, like actual, putting paint on metal. How long do you spend?
I tried to do the Meg Maples tip, the 1 hour a night. Just sit down and do some hobby time. And like Randon here, he just is barely finishing up a 15-day challenge.
That's correct. Yesterday it finished up, and I failed because I got sick.
But it was just 1 hour? 1 hour a night for 15 days?
Yeah. The challenge was right after I got home from Gen Con, I took that kind of advice from everybody. They said, hey, just paint as much as you can, as often as you can, every day if you can. And so the idea was, let's create a 15-day challenge for everybody that watches the Geek Garage or whatever, and just spend an hour a night and throw your pictures up there and see if you can do it for 15 days and see how it helps or doesn't help you. And, that was kind of the idea.
Okay. But that's not quite what I'm getting at. So, right. I mean, just lost my headset. Yeah. So paint on model. Alan, you were working on that big blue troll guy. How much time did you put into it?
Oh, this troll? I probably have maybe 12 hours into this right now. And I'll probably put in another 8 or so to get it finished, not including basing.
Okay. Blue's the best. Tim, for the life of me, I don't remember what you took first with at Gen Con, but
the Contempt of Dread.
Yeah. How much time did you put into
that? See, that's the funny thing. I probably took, if you count just painting or just solid painting, I probably spent a good, 15 hours tops. But I also had this wonderful new toy called an airbrush. So I've been learning how to blend a little bit. I do most of my base coating and initial color modulation with that, and then I go straight to traditional brushwork. but even with the airbrush, I still spent a solid 15 hours on it. Now, the funny thing is, though, is that my very first competition piece. Hang on a second. Let me see if this actually works. Never mind. I won't try that. It was an Inquisitor model. Here, I'll just do this. This one. So I probably spent easily 40 to 50 hours painting that, and I didn't even make it in the first cut. So for me, it doesn't really matter how long it takes me anymore. It's more, am I, getting it to the point to where I want to get it? And that's something Jim Wapple and I have talked with at length. I mean, that man will paint 2 hours and win a gold, whereas I'll paint 50 and won't get off the table. So it's going to take you how long it takes you.
So then, how do you decide? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Rand.
I was going to say, I agree. I think when I sit down to paint, and people ask that to me a lot. They say, how long did it take you to paint that? To me, I really have no idea. I pick it up one night and I start painting, and then I put it down and I go, and I'm done for the day. And I rarely am able to keep track of about how long I do. I know that, I know Al, don't you, you keep a good track because you charge by the hour when you commission, right?
Yeah, that's why I don't get a lot of people taking up commissions with me, because that's a good way to, like when you're overloaded, tell people $10 an hour. It's going to cost take about 2 or 3 hours to just get a basic high level paint job done. And if they want to spend $30, good. Still doesn't make money for me.
Yeah, I think when you sit down, sometimes you get into a groove and you can do some things that you can get into a groove and you can get working on a color and you just smoke it down, and in 30 minutes you've got highlight from shade perfect, you love it. And then there's days when you're just not feeling it and you can work the same color for 2 hours and you can't get the same result, or it takes 2 hours to get the same result you got in a half an hour. And I think that's just kind of one of the things that is the nature of painting. It's not always a precise science, I think.
Yeah, my whole trick this year for Gen Con wasn't to paint brand new models. It was to take models I had already finished up to what my typical tabletop standard is, spend maybe an extra hour or two on them, and enter them. So it was for me it was, what am I going to have to do to my standard style and quality to push it to the next level for me. So, and like I said, I mean, I maybe spent 2 hours tops to, on that Dreadnought from when I played it back at Adepticon to entering it now. So it really all depends on what you're just trying to accomplish and if you like what you're doing or not.
Yep.
So do you guys have like a set goal? When you start off, you're like, this is the piece I'm going to use for my competition, and I want to have X, Y, Z done on it. Is that how you determine when it's done, or is it kind of done when you've got a good feeling about it, or when you check your boxes? Like, I mean, I don't know. Personally, when I'm painting, I mean, even like when I submit something, when I say, hey, I'm done, everybody come take a look at this, or if I put it in the competition, I still see like 10 things that I don't like about it. So, but at the same time, I realize that I'm always going to find those things. I'm always going to find 10 things. So.
Artists are their worst critics.
Yeah, but I mean, you just say, all right, competition's tomorrow, I'm done.
It's done when you hand it off because you can't touch it anymore.
For me, it's more of a, when is it done? It's done either when I get too sick of looking at it and I still think it's good enough to enter, or at least give it a shot, or it's done when the model's not cross-eyed anymore. I mean, if there's a glaring mistake on it, that was one of the reasons why Bugman didn't make Top Shelf, but we'll let that one go. It's just for me. It's if there are glaring mistakes, I won't enter it. if I don't like the way my blends are going, I'll move on to something else. The minute I get frustrated with a project to the point to where I'm counting the minutes, not the holy crap, it's done all of a sudden, I put it down and move on to something else. If that means I don't get something done, I don't get something done. Too many years I've stressed about this hobby. It's a hobby. It's not a job.
Right. I think one of the things that, at least I was going to mention this, I just kind of spaced it. One of the things that really helped me a lot with my entry was it's good to have a group of people to bounce your ideas off of. Like, Casey, you should come to paint night. Because I'm serious, like, because there were several times with my entry, specifically the entry that I entered in, the Wildcat Squad with the intruder, where I thought I was done with parts of the model. I said, I'm done. This is great. This is perfect. And then I sent it off to some of the Geek Garage homies. I said, what do you think? And then they were like, no, do this. And I was like, what the hell? I don't want to do more work. I think it looks good as is. But they kind of pushed, and all the suggestions that were made really were improvement. And I did them, and I took it. You know, I took the critique and I apply it. And what I found out was, after taking all the critique, the models looked like 3 times better than where I thought they were finished from. So.
Okay. I promise I really do try and make paint nights. That's another interesting environment.
Hey, if I was there, I'd come, man.
Yeah, Tim, you can come whenever you want. Once a month in Ogden, Utah. Just drive over. It's only like 17, 25 hours. No big deal.
Oh, in 25 hours I could be in Miami. Are you kidding me?
What? Ogden is a beautiful place. There's sidewalks, and sometimes we have street lights.
Casey, you gotta realize, not everybody knows about the massive range of mountains that are all along Utah. They don't get to see those all the time. So to us, Ogden might be ugly, but to people who drive in, they look and they see the mountains. They don't see the Ogden.
we spend so much time keeping them looking up, they never have a chance to look down.
Is that like Nevada and Reno? Same situation?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Sort of. He's not lying. I mean, Utah does have some amazing mountain ranges. Olympic world-class skiing. I don't ski.
We paint figures. We don't ski. Let's be honest about this.
I look out the window at the snow and says, "Man, it must be cold out there."
And I gotta shovel it.
I don't have to go outside today.
Okay, we'll steer us back on topic just a little bit.
All right.
Oh no, we can talk about skiing, like how I detest skiing even more.
Okay, back on topic.
Okay. So when you're doing basing for a model, is basing a part of your initial concept? Is it, or should it be part of your initial concept? I mean, I'll see some guys, they have, their miniature is that big, and then they've got like on a giant onyx flint, it weighs like 20 pounds. I just think, man, does that take away from the miniature? Or does it make it look good in the case? Or what are your thoughts on the basing for it?
I think basing is huge. It is a huge part of the hobby that I think gets overlooked a lot. And I think I try to plan out how I want my base to look and the atmosphere, because part of your paint job, you want it to kind of marry with the atmosphere you're creating with the base. I mean, I don't know, like when I painted my Nomads, I knew they were going to be on a rusty old spaceship, so that was the plan and that was the basing idea, and it was all there in my mind before I started any of the project, was rusty old spaceship. And so I think it really does make a difference, because it kind of gives you an idea and helps you understand how you want to theme your army, how you want to paint your army, as opposed to saying blue, red, green, flock, dirt, done. You know what I mean?
No, I agree completely. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons why my Infinity models didn't make it to Gen Con, because I'm custom making all the bases because I want them to have a very specific story behind them. It's about telling a story. It's their little 25 millimeter round world that they're standing on, and if you screw the base, the fig's not going to get near as much attention as it could. I mean, tying the model into the base with maybe a little bit of weathering powder if they're in, I don't know, whatever kind of arid environment, and you use the wrong weathering powder color versus sandy bases. It's all about telling the complete story, not just, like you said, crap flock and a goblin green surround base. Old school.
That's it. My. You guys watch. You'll know it's my miniature in the next Salty Dwarf, because I'm going to use a ring of goblin green paint around that.
They don't make that color anymore. Don't do it.
That's the reason why they don't make it anymore. They got sick of all the bases.
I'll fly to Utah and I'll repaint that base for you. I swear to God.
Basing is such a hard thing. Like for me, I get a lot of flack when I post some stuff online because usually basing is like the last thing for me. I don't want to, or the miniature has to speak to me what it wants to be on, kind of in a way. I don't want to, it has to be a spark of inspiration. I'm not one of those who plan out basing ahead of time.
If you're not, totally cool. There's places called Dragonforge Design and Secret Weapon Miniatures and Wargammer.com, and not to advertise on the show or anything, because I don't make any money off of those guys.
We can.
But you know what I mean, though. If that's going to be a last-minute thought to you, that's fine. But don't do your miniatures a disservice and get some quality bases to put them on.
Right. I think Al. Planning your base doesn't have to be a project. Like with my Nomads, I wanted to be on a rusty spaceship. That didn't mean I was going to scratch build every base. I went and was like, where do I have spaceship bases? Well, I had Sedition Wars hanging out. I was like, hey, look at these spaceship bases all over the place. And so I took those, and then painting it was part of the atmosphere I created. But I think Tim's absolutely right. You can plan your base and go online and buy the base, and then you're just painting it. It doesn't have to be these award-winning plinth bases that have been built from milliput and green stuff and sticks and rocks and trees. And I mean, those are fantastic, and they will add flavor and character to anything you paint. But there are a lot of ways that you can get a similar effect without as much work.
I mean, I just pulled up your Nomads here on the screen, Brandon.
Those are mine. So yeah, I mean, if you look at those bases are secret weapon miniature bases. I'm not secret; they're Sedition Wars bases. I did build that plinth up out of other things, a little display area where they sat. I built that up out of bits of metal and gas meter parts and all sorts of stuff like that. But the bases themselves were cheap.
It's a subtle thing. It's not. You could really. There's like the plinths and all that. You could really overdo it easily and bury your miniature in, and you can see it at all. There is a fine line.
Some people do their bases up to the point where it's basically a diorama at that point. The miniature is just one small piece of it. But I kind of agree with you guys. I think your base should help you. It's more than just a frame. I've seen a lot of really nice miniatures on a really weird looking base where I'm like, okay, I guess you just felt like doing cobblestone today or something like that. At least when I'm doing mine, I like to. I'm cheap. Well, no, I'm the opposite of cheap, but I'm easy. I like secret weapon bases just because it's easy. But I think, yeah, I mean, your base should tell a story, or should at least make the person think more about like what the miniature is doing.
You know, I will say this: if you're going to put any time into your own bases, definitely, if you're not going to learn from somebody who really knows how, what they're doing, like a Jim Wapple or a Justin McCoy or God knows anybody else in the communities and blog. I'm sorry, if you can't go onto Google and look through blogs and find something, then you don't know how to type. But that's beside the point. When it comes to basing, there's little points, and if you're going to put the work into it, put the work into it. For ballast and grit and whatnot on bases, I use a mix of 3 or 4 different sized ballasts and sands because the world isn't uniform. It's not the same sized rock over and over and over again. So if you're going to build it yourself, do a little bit of research, put the time in, and even if it's not a horribly complex base, it'll still look excellent with very little work, with a little research. But like I said, if not, throw money people's way and get really cool bases in the mail.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of resources out there.
A lot of my money.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there for just buying miniatures or miniature bases, or even, like you said, just do a Google search. I've gone to Massive Voodoo for the last 4 years, and every time they put out an article, I learn something new. And YouTube, if you can't read, YouTube's got a lot of videos out there.
Yeah, and if you happen to be starting out painting and you're listening to this, we're not trying to be a-holes, but if you're just starting out, if you type in YouTube, how to paint, how to base, you're going to get videos, there's going to be blogs, there's so much information out there because I think the community of hobbyists wants to share. They want to say, hey, look what I did, and look how easy it is. It's not that hard. Look what I did. And all I did was I went outside, or I bought this from the train shop, and I mixed it with this, and look what happened. And it's a lot of easy stuff that, that makes a huge difference. But yeah, it's don't do your hours and hours of painting a disservice by slapping it on a base that you just kind of halfway thought it was finished when it was black. I mean, not finishing it is really doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Okay, so the flip side then. Do you think you could take an ugly miniature and lift it up with a beautiful base?
No. I'm sorry, that was quick.
Your miniature is your focal point. Your miniature is the one part of the scene that your eyes are going to go to.
I think you can make it look a little better, but if it's like Al said, the point of your base is to accentuate the figure, not the other way around. So if you have a poorly painted model, if you put it in the right atmosphere, some of the flaws may be overlooked because of the scene that you created and the story that you have. But ultimately, the figure is what you're trying to make stand out. So.
Okay, fair enough. Let me quantify my very quick no, even though I still think it's right. If you're going for a standard tabletop army and you're painting anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 points of something, and I don't care for what game it is because War Machine's getting there. It really does come to, if you're going to put them on a stellar base and they're just a standard tabletop quality, yeah, you'll make them look a lot better because you're viewing them from anywhere from 2 to 4 feet away. They're going to look great because you're telling a story with them still. Maybe you're not, hitting that 4th level of highlight on everything, but you're playing with the figs. Who cares? If you're doing it for a competition, whole other story. If your fig's not up to it, I don't care what you do to the base.
Agreed.
So, Tim, you've written on your blog fairly extensively about this, and this is actually kind of what motivated me to get competitions. But you can use competitions to help make yourself do better in your painting. That can really drive up your quality. at least I've said that. I'm not looking for any ego stuff here, but I found that my painting has gotten a lot better trying to move up for a competition. Now you guys are on a lot higher level than I am. Do you still find that true? Do you still find yourself pushing pushing into new areas or developing new skill sets when you guys are entering into competitions?
Deadlines bring out the best in people.
See, my thought is on this is that, yes, for gosh sakes, anybody who wants to get better at painting, enter a competition, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of not doing well or being or not making the cut. Don't be afraid, because part of painting is growing and learning that and seeing what other people can do better and getting a critique or two from the judge. And be fully prepared to be told about what you see. I mean, if you put a figure. I mean, I'll just put it this way. I put a big old Rackham Giant into the Gen Con 2010 painting competition, and I spent a lot of time on that thing, and I thought it was the coolest model ever. There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
So I painted that thing, and I was like, dude, this is absolutely excellent, And I was hoping to win something, and it didn't make the first cut, and it kind of bummed me out a little bit. But I still, to this day, I got a bunch of critique on it. That one of the things that I hadn't figured out at that point is you have to finish every part of a model, not just the visible part. Well, this was what, 4 years ago, so I was just painting what people could see, and I was leaving the stuff that wasn't really the focal part of the mini. But it's just, you have to be willing to take that, and it's really hard because, especially with art and things that you create, critique is so hard to take, especially harsh critique. When someone tells you that something you spent 40 hours doing, and they say, you know what, you really need to do better here, and it was an area that maybe you had focused on, but you weren't to the level you needed to be. And I think just being prepared and accepting that is a necessary trait to getting better in painting at all. If you're too afraid to compete or to even enter, I think you're manufacturing your own plateau, because you're not going to push yourself to get any better if you're just
It's a disservice to yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right, and this is awesome because I feel like you're quoting my blog post from back in July, and I know you're not, so I'm glad that people actually have all the same thoughts I do, and I'm not just spouting crap every time I write a blog post. So it's but you're absolutely right. You have to be able to handle critique, because if you can't handle critique, you're not going to get better, because all you're going to do is think, well, I did the best I could, and if they can't see that, then screw them, and you're going to walk off and take your toys and go home, like I did when I was 3. It doesn't serve a purpose. If you take that figure you thought you were going to do really well on, every winning painter out there that looked up to since you started painting in the hobby are more than approachable. And if you don't think you can walk up to them and ask them their opinion, you have another thing coming, because you should, and they will, and they're happy to give their time to do that, because that's how they started.
Yeah, I mean, at Gen Con, Grim and myself, we had a whole evening to hang out with Meg Maples and her now fiance, Mark Sully. I learned a whole lot just from talking to those two. Grim learned some Australian, but you'll have to watch the interview to see that.
There's a different language. By the way, they're married now.
That's right, they are. They are married at Paizo Publishing. That was pretty cool. But yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Painters in general are just like you and me, normal, cool people who thought, you know what, I want to get better at painting. And at one time they sat down and they decided they were going to try really hard to paint one of their Games Workshop Space Marines. And, they tried really hard, and someone told them a trick or two, and then they went and asked someone who they thought was their hero and their idol, and they said, here, do this, and they did that better. And then they became somebody that we're going, hey, Meg Maple, she's pretty awesome. And we go talk to her, and she's like, oh yeah, I mean, they're all down to earth people that more than willing to share everything they've learned with you. There's no secret painting tips and advice and scariness that comes with demon winners. They're just all people that want to be good at painting.
Absolutely. Just remember, when you ask their opinion, accept it, because they are better than you for a reason. They get the awards for a reason, and you have to be able to take their criticism. They're not going to be mean, but you got to listen.
Because most of them are judges too, and
Yeah, right.
they know they're out there judging at some of these competitions, so they have what they want to look for.
To not take criticism that you receive from a better painter and to not immediately turn around and apply it is to have wasted your time and their time asking the question, in my opinion. I don't know.
You're right.
Brandon, that was like the deepest thing I've ever heard you say. That's it. Show's over.
These guys
Leave it on a high note, Brandon.
It's too bad it's in your ear. You could mic drop and walk away.
So we are.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, we are running. We're running short on time. But so we all agree that competitions do make us better. Do you feel that all painting competitions are created equally? I mean, it seems like you could go online, you could find half a dozen painting competitions running right now. Do you think an online competition is as beneficial to a person as an in-person? Because not everyone has the ability to go to Gen Con to split their stuff. Not everybody has a local painting competition kind of happening.
I don't think so. No. Online competitions require knowledge of photography.
No, they're not. They're not because. I'm sorry if I talked over somebody. Sorry. They're not because some painting competitions will have amazing competition. There will be amazing artists there, and some won't have the amazing artists. And then when you go to online painting competitions, that not only is a painting competition, but it's also a photography competition, because if you don't know how to take a picture of your miniature online, it's not going to show up the way it looks like in your hand. And so there's also that aspect to any online competition is, can you take a picture that reflects exactly how your miniature looks? And that in and of itself is a whole entire different story that's it's its own thing. So
yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And God forbid the people who actually know how to use Photoshop for a living. Everybody says, well, I could spot a photoshopped model photograph in it. No, you can't. I'm a professional graphic designer for the past 15 years. If I really wanted to screw with my figs, I probably could. I just happen to be decent at photography, so I really don't care. But that was a really big critique of the very first Crystal Brush, in that half of the voting, half of the determination for the winners wasn't just the judge on staff, but it was online too. What if the guy's f-stop was off by a little bit? The aperture was a little too wide. The one of the lights was out. I don't care. Whatever excuse could have been. When you have not just a popular vote, but a photography-based online, a dude's monitor's too dim. One dude's contrast is too hell. It's no matter what, there are way too many things in an online competition. I do not think they're equal to an in-person. Is it hell to get to them sometimes? Sure it is. I'm really sorry. Save your money. But do an in-person competition when you can.
Yep.
Even on some in-person ones, it can be difficult because, I mean, for judges to actually look at the miniature, you have to get up close and personal, look at everything. And Ren and I both know we've done the Salty Dwarf as a judge. There's some miniatures, and you'll hear people like, "Oh, that looks amazing," and all that. And we've looked at it close. We're like, it's not that great. but it's that 5-foot rule. It looks great from 5 feet away.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay,
Is that
so
too deep?
that still wasn't as deep, man. We're all just trying to come up to your level now.
Yeah.
We're all
Sorry,
gonna
guys.
That'll
We're
never
trying to
happen. I'm
close-
short. My blog's named Miniature Tim for a reason.
All right, so closing thoughts. I mean, whether it be if you guys have judged in the past and there's something you want to encourage people to do when they're painting for a competition, or you haven't, or one tip you've learned, you can kind of sum it all up from your competition painting days. Just final thoughts.
Contrast. Contrast is key. If you can go from black to white, for like those 10 levels, it's great. If you can just want to do 5 to 6 levels, contrast is key because it helps pop everything.
And we'll go with Randy because Tim looks deep in thought.
Well, you know what I'm going to say? Mine's not going to be any mind-entering thing, but I'm going to tell you there's two things that I'm not going to take a lot of stuff. I'm going to say two things. One is paint. Just paint. Just sit down and paint. Paint every day. Paint every other day. Find the time. Put in the time and the hours. If you really want to be good, you have to put in the time. And then ask for critique and apply the critique as you're painting. So painting is that's the number one way to get better. And to get better faster is to take critique and apply it. And those two things, if you paint and if you apply the good critique you get, I think that is going to make all the difference in your competition painting, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to follow it up with don't expect to win first time out. I mean, those are rare and far and few between. I think the only one I can think of off the top of my head was Vincent Hudon with his old Magma Tracks, I think is what it was called. But I mean, the man just mastered non-metal metallic in like a month or two. I'm not him. You're not him. He's him. Don't expect to do it right off the bat. You're not perfect. You're not going to be perfect, and quite frankly, if that's what you're expecting out of your first competition, you're going to be sorely disappointed and never enter again. But enter, because just like Randon said, the only way to do it is to do it, and the only way to get better is to keep doing it. That's why when people, I'd enter if I could make it. Okay, well, if you really want to enter, you're going to make it. Well, I just don't think I'm good enough. Says who? I didn't hear anybody tell you weren't good enough, so paint it. Enter it. I don't care if it's the worst looking piece of crap in the cabinet, because that's where mine was 4 or 5 years ago. It was the worst looking piece of crap in the cabinet, in my opinion. But you keep doing it and you get better. You ask for advice, and eventually you get people. You get the Slayer Sword winners. You get the Crystal Brush winners. Talking to you. You get the Meg Maples, you get the Borers and the Fontaines, if you could ever make it back in the States again. You get these people actually talking to you, and you're like, oh, well, I really like how you did this. Now just push it to the next level, and do it by doing this. Don't stop. Keep doing it, and don't be afraid to enter.
And I think I'll follow you there and just have no fear with what you're doing. Don't let fear hold you back. Of painting. Don't be afraid, because even if you do have the crappiest looking miniature in the case and you come to pick it up, nobody's going to say anything bad to you. I mean, they'll have criticism for you, sure, but everybody in this hobby wants to see everybody else get better. And unless you're like trolling forums or something, you're not going to get the victory. See, everybody wants to say nice things about everybody else and help everybody else. So don't be afraid of entering those competitions, because nobody's going to just walk up to you and tell you you suck. And if they do, then they suck.
If everybody was afraid, we'd never have pretty minis to look at.
It's true.
So I think we're running out of time. Tim,
All right, yes. Yes, let's wrap
if
this
people
up.
yeah, let's wrap this up. Tim, if people want to listen to your pearls of wisdom, look at your pretty minis, where
My
can they find
blathering
you?
opinions? Sure, go on.
Where can they find you at? Tim?
I run a blog. It's miniaturetim.blogspot.com. I'm short and I like to paint miniatures, so the term was fairly apropos. Find me there. Shoot me an email at miniaturetim@gmail.com. I'm happy to answer any questions, talk, make new friends, and I go to the circuits quite frequently. So track me down. Let's have a beer.
Brandon?
Hey, www.geek-garage.net. We've got a forum, a seldomly updated blog. If you're on any of the forums, look me up, Grimwolf. It's most likely me. Send me a message. Guaranteed on Geek Garage, it's me. I'm Grimwolf. So I'm always happy to talk to anybody. I'll give you a nickname, so be prepared.
All right, Alan, take us out.
All right, folks. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. We will have the links to everybody on our guest. Will be down in the description. Like if you like this. Share it with your friends. Tell us what you think. We're happy to help to listen to you. We'll be back next week with another show. Guys, have a good night. I've been Wild Chevy. This has been Rocket Yeti.
Good night, everybody.
Have a
See
good
you
one.
guys.
Bye.